I have had the pleasure of seeing some of Osagyefo's artifacts that he used, items, his clothing. It's a beautiful experience when you enter the museum. Cameras aren't allowed in there for obvious reasons. You need to come here to experience it yourself. This was not planned. I stepped out and guess who I see here? I see Samia and Seku Nkrumah, children of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame. I'm just so pleased to see them here. I see them on TV, I see them on social media, never had the chance to see them in person, and I get to do that today. Hello, good to see you.
Hello, Joy. Yes,
It's such a pleasure having you here. I have enjoyed every bit of this scenery, trust me. And I told them it's such a beautiful experience for me because I didn't grow up knowing Nkrumah. So I get to learn about him and I get to have at least the best first-hand interaction I can with who he was and what he stood for. But for you as his children, I can imagine what it feels like for you to be here today. Do you mind sharing with us?
Oh, absolutely. And we've been here many times, but this is one of the first times, let's say for me it's the second, to be in this redeveloped and restructured Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park and Mausoleum. And I'm encouraged. I'm happy with what I see because precisely what you said is the reason why we need a good place for the young generation to come and be reintroduced to Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, what he stood for, what he tried to do for Ghana and Africa and Africans all over the world. So this is a place of learning, and I think that's the whole purpose. And the reason why I am happy and encouraged, it's because I know that people who come here would be inspired. I am inspired. Of course, there's the personal side and the political, but I'm inspired just coming here, paying homage to not just to the man, but to what he stood for. Because he was a mortal man, obviously, but he also stood for a vision to redeem Africa and Africans. And I think that's something we need to keep on remembering.
All right. What about you, Seku?
Well, I mean, going back to your introduction, I mean, you said you're too young to know Nkrumah. And when Nkrumah was overthrown, I was only 2 years old. I think Samuel was 5, Kamal was 6. So let me speak for myself. I didn't know anything about Nkrumah. So I got to know Nkrumah from reading books, not as a kid, but when I grew up a bit, especially when we returned to Ghana. So I was like 11, 12. So that's really was my getting to know Nkrumah, reading the books. But interesting for me, I started reading books that were critical of Nkrumah before I started reading books by Nkrumah and books that promoted Nkrumah. So I always think that I'm very objective in that. But I think what Samuel was saying earlier, it's important to have places like that that really not only promotes Nkrumah, but gives people the idea of where he's coming from, what his vision was. So the decolonization, the Pan-African Union, and of course the socialist path. It's something that I struggled with for a long time because in today's world, socialism is not so attractive. But look, we have to look at the totality of Nkrumah, and then we can decide what to do moving forward. So he said he was a Marxist intellectual. We can't ignore these things about Nkrumah. That's what he represented. But again, also, you know, the Mausoleum was built in 1992. Nkrumah was first buried, I mean, he was buried in Guinea, then buried in Nkrumah, his hometown, during Achampon's time. And then during the Rawlings time, the PNDC, not NDC, right. So sometimes we also have to give credit to the PNDC then, even if you don't like Rawlings or whatever, but it was his time that he built this place. And then, of course, as I agree with Sammy, that if the present government, NPP, led by Nana Akufo-Addo, so if they've built on what someone else has done, I think it's a good thing. But for me personally, there was just one aspect that I kind of confused me a bit, and that was I wouldn't know the reason the NPP are thinking of or thought of building up, renovating this place and making it better than it was. Yeah. I hear it was a bit neglected, right? But the point here is that if you're talking about Nkrumah, you know, Professor Mills declared the 21st as the Founders' Day, singular. Yes. So the idea was that, and that I think many people think, I told I'm very objective, but But in this one, I think Nkrumah is the founder. He led Ghana to independence. He was Ghana's first president. So that again comes to the 1st July, removed as a public holiday. I mean, we had a Ghanaian as head of state, not the Queen. So you see, that is very significant. And then again, when you create 4th August as founders, then plural, then that also confuses people. Because, of course, Nkrumah is not the only one who contributed to independence. And in fact, people were there before him. In fact, they called him from the UK. But they identify with his capacity and his hard work. And in fact, he overtook them simply because of their hard work. But the point is that, so when you do these things, for me, it's like you're confusing, because the history is one.
So if I get you right, and I'm sure you're not the only one, because quite a lot of people were like, okay, because we thought that the agenda was not to focus so much on Nkrumah, make it more generalistic, as this government will make us believe, and then all of a sudden, all this beautiful edifice for Nkrumah, what exactly are you communicating? Is that what it is?
Yes, I think it's more or less, yeah.
But I think what I would like to see and what I'm happy about is that Ghanaians can reach consensus on what is good for us, because that's the way forward. We might have different political orientations, different ideologies. You have NDC, NPP, other smaller parties. But the fact of the matter is, for us to progress, we have to agree on certain things. I'm happy today we agree that Nkrumah, what he stood for, what he championed, that Africans must unite, work together, is something we all agree on. So for me, that is progress. One of the things that really made me proud and happy to be a Ghanaian is that I'm thinking, okay, Ghanaians are united in paying their respects to Kwame Nkrumah and what he did for us and what he can still do for us, because his ideas are for the future. Right. Our states united. If we were united, we would have been borrowing as a bloc at very favorable rates, interest rates. We would have been building our industries together instead of separately, unable to pay our debts back. So what he championed is for the future. It's for you, for your generation. So I'm happy. Everybody has played a part in honoring Nkrumah. And this is the culmination of it, a redesigned, redeveloped, more beautiful park and mausoleum, and even a library, which is something we had suggested that we need a Kwame Nkrumah presidential library, because Kwame Nkrumah was not just any leader, he was an international statesman. And let us learn and recover from him, his ideas, how he went about doing things, how he came to have friends all over the world, friends of Africa and Ghana. So this place for me symbolizes unity, in a way, unity of Ghana, unity of Africa and Africa.
So here's what I told my... all right, okay.
It's okay, but we have to go back to this bit that you don't confuse us with the past.
All right.
That's, if it's true what Sam is saying, is honoring Nkrumah and all that and his vision, but for us to understand really his vision, then we have to understand who Kwame Nkrumah was and what he represented. So when you try to confuse us with the past or distort the past, I think that's not good enough. So sometimes, even if people don't like it, but we have to accept that Nkrumah is the founder. We have to accept that there's significance in 1st of July, because I was telling you earlier why. Yeah. Yes, so these things, when you try to distort them and then bring in the 4th August to confuse people further, then although I agree, you are honoring Nkrumah and so on, but at the same time, you're also taking a bit out and confusing people. And young people have to know the truth or what stood. We don't have to all agree on it, but we can't agree. We can have differences, but we cannot distort the past. That's why it's significant to understand that point.
Right. Okay. So here's what I told my tour guide when I went in there, and I've seen that video when the Queen died. It kept playing on the BBC, the video of your father dancing with the Queen, and how he's the only black man to have done that. And then I see that his Cadillac was gifted him by the president, former president of the U.S. And then I'm like, okay, so the impression I was given as a young child was this Pan-Africanist hated whites, right? So I'm beginning to reconcile what I'm seeing and what I heard, and I'm like, okay, what I think is that he was more of an assertive person, and he won't hate you, but whether you were his friend or not, he would tell it to your face that he didn't like your neo-colonialism agenda. But when it came to, for example, dancing with the Queen, he will dance with the Queen. Someone will say, why will you dance with someone who colonized you? But then again, I see that he wasn't a hater.
Thank you.
Let me ask you, Sekou, because you spoke about the fact that you read the books critical of him before you read the books written by him. What impression do you have of your dad? Honest impression.
Yeah, no problem. But first of all, it's not hate, but you have to confront what is wrong.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So the issue is not, he doesn't hate white, but he hates what they do.
Right.
If it's the Western world or whatever, the colonialist.
All
imperialist.
whites. It's the system, you know, the system that is exploiting us. But the ordinary
Hasn't come.
white
The system
people,
hasn't come.
workers going about their business, what have they done? You know,
No,
they
but-
are oppressed themselves.
But the Queen
by the
represents
system.
that colonialism, and she's the head.
Yes.
Yes.
No, but as a statesman, you need to do diplomacy.
Yes, that's a
How
different
do
thing.
people
Right,
make
right,
peace?
right.
People go to war. The same people who go to war with each other sit around the table and make peace.
But you
So
have to
one
stand for
doesn't
what is
contradict.
right and what is wrong. Yes, it doesn't mean you are quarreling with people, but you have to define that
In
these people are...
negotiations, everyone speaks their mind, and then people find common ground. So dancing with the Queen doesn't mean I cannot speak against
Perfectly.
neocolonialism or oppression or exploitation.
And that's exactly what he did.
And I'm happy you seem to have come to that conclusion too, you
Yeah.
see. So when people say Kwame Nkrumah was too radical, or there's nothing wrong with radical, by the way, I think it's fresh and beautiful, but not pragmatic. I respond that Kwame Nkrumah was very pragmatic, you know, because he was a leader of a country which needed to develop. And he said, we neither face east nor west, we face forward, meaning he's ready to do business with whoever can help us achieve our aim of raising the standard of the living of the people, you know. So
True, but at some point he also broke away from the Commonwealth. So you see, people don't stand in one place. They develop all the time. And their ideas and vision, it might not change completely, depart completely from the vision, but you have to readjust at moments. So sometimes he might have been diplomatic, maybe towards the end, and that comes to your question. Nkrumah at some point introduced the one-party state, which is seen as, I mean, I grew up in an era where, or got introduced to politics, that democracy was the key for me. And that's why I championed return of Ghana to the multi-party democracy and so on. But I'm saying, talking about Nkrumah, that is someone else. But if you're talking about Nkrumah, towards the end, his ideas changed and he shifted. I mean, he's always been a Marxist socialist, but he then turned Ghana into a one-party state. Some people are not comfortable with that, and I, at some point, criticized that. But the coup, which kind of the statue was brought down, Nkrumah's. I mean, everybody was running down Nkrumah. Those when they succeeded in the coup. But the point is that yes, he did close the door on opposition. So I, in the past, I said, oh, in a sense, if you look at it, you can justify the coup only from that point of view. But if you're looking at the bigger picture, then we have to understand he introduced the one-party state because of that socialist path that. So you had to
put it in
we have
context.
different opinions.
But we have to put in when we talk about the one-party state, we have to put it in context. It's not because of his socialist ideas. No, the fact of the matter is Kwame Nkrumah had invited even the opposition and was in parliament. They were debating. He had invited some of them to join, but it was born out of it was born out of this particular situation where one-party states also were in vogue in many other countries. We like to criticize Nkrumah about it, but let's look at the other African countries. It was the thing, the done thing after independence, when development, speedy, rapid development, was a priority above all else. And the way he introduced it through parliament, through debate, he was trying to bring the best minds in the country to work together for a common goal.
Agree with him. And you see, introduce it. No, I'm sorry to cut you.
Democracy. The way we practice multi-party democracy today has to be refined because it's at loggerheads with our indigenous knowledge systems of how we practice democracy, which is reaching consensus. We discuss and we debate until we reach common ground. Right. So multi-party politics today is the winner takes all. I win, you are nothing, you are vanquished. And I'm trying to tell you that
the one party is dictatorship. You can't say it's not dictatorship.
Every system system, including multi-party democracy, has some undemocratic elements in it. We can talk till tomorrow, but let us look at its totality. Let's not just say Kwame Nkrumah one-party state without taking it out of context.
No, I'm not taking
because
out of context
this,
because I'm saying it's
because
socialist.
this
It's the socialist part.
No, socialism,
it's dictatorship, but that's
socialism
what it chose to be. So let's know Nkrumah for what he was. Let's not create an Nkrumah that I want him to be.
So those are your impressions of him based on what you read, not what...
Based on reality. Did we not have a one-party state under Nkrumah?
No, I'm saying that because you were saying that you got to know him through writing because you were only 2 when he was overthrown.
Nkrumah introduced the one-party state. Right. Nkrumah became life president. These are facts. It's not what you read. And I'm saying that is dictatorial, but I'm saying it's because of his ideas of that socialist path for our development, not only for Ghana, but Africa.
So he chose it because for him it was a path to development.
Yes, he was a Marxist intellectual, and he chose the socialist path. We can't redefine Nkrumah as that's what I'm saying, but so it was dictatorial. But it doesn't mean that it's wrong, because that was his philosophy, and people have their philosophy. As today we have a multi-party system, that's the Western, inherited from the Western system. Nkrumah was against that. He didn't believe. He developed a point where he realized socialism is the path. So what I'm saying, for us to understand his greatness...
That's why everything was pushed through Parliament
not
today.
Western democracy.
No,
that's
but even
kind of democracy.
every legislation, everything he promoted was done through Parliament. Right. This is a man who won 3 with his party.
So you
3
disagree
elections.
with the word dictatorial?
Strongly, because it's the manner in which he introduced most of his policies, or everything actually, was pushed through Parliament. So he used constitutional means, and we can check the records. So are we saying that today, when any government of the day pushes through things which the opposition vehemently opposes, that they are...
There was no opposition then.
But there was an opposition. There were different parties.
They had no room to operate.
There was a referendum. Everything was pushed.
I don't agree with you, but I guess people differ, even siblings.
But yes.
But I actually love this because we are engaging in very honest, beautiful discussions, all because of one man. And I dare say that I see that strong-willed impression that I have of who he is in the 2 of you, and that's why it's beautiful to see that though you're siblings, you're putting your points out across beautifully and hearing each other. But
I'm being bullied a bit.
no, bully, no. But that's what we do most of the time.
I can imagine what your home looked like when you were young.
Yes, exactly. No, but we love each other and we love Ghana, and I mean, really, most of us, we want to see progress. We want to see.
That brings me to my next point. Beyond the mausoleum, right? How do we cement what Dr. Kwame Nkrumah stood for? Because you just said that he made some of these statements, and the quotes I see on the wall there many years ago, but I can resonate with them so beautifully. There was one I saw that I said I was going to borrow for my conversations on Galamsey, the issue of the commonness of resources and how it must not be used for the selfish gain of others. And then the one I see about the fact that, look, we've moved beyond this point. It doesn't mean that we have it. We will face challenges, but we have the courage. Look, it gives me such confidence. You have no idea. When I read that, I was like, wow, this man, he definitely had something, right? Which was the ability to see beyond even his generation and probably mine. So I
think fantastic.
Yeah. So how do we cement his legacy beyond this, right? How do we take it out to the rest of the world?
As you like. I'm always edging. Okay, let him go first.
So, yes, so the truth is that... No, I don't believe it. Women first. But in this case, I want... the fact of the matter, we've embraced a multi-party system of democracy. But we all know where it's going now, at least talking about Ghana now. It's NDC, MPP, we've changed NDC, MPP, and we are not really making much progress, right? So my point is that because that's a Western concept that we've embraced and we've imposed on our system. I think if you're talking about Nkrumah's legacy, then the thinking should be moving away from that Western concepts and the new colonialism. We should break away from that, those colonial chains. So he, as I said, chose that socialist path. I don't know today what we can choose, but it's obviously something different from what we're having now. But I'm saying that with all honesty. But the truth is that I believe the way the world is now, we're going to be stuck with the multi-party system for a while. And I don't think any of us wants a coup d'etat or change of government through violent revolutionary ways. But we need to address this problem. We can't go on like this. I mean, look, I just came a few weeks and, I mean, the living conditions are just too hard for the average Ghanaian. So it doesn't make sense. What has multi-party served us since 19... Well, but we are talking about Ghana now and the legacy of Nkrumah. I mean, for Ghana, and then of course we can talk about Africa. But it's not, as you rightly say, then it's not really far in other African countries. We're still in the same. So that's why it gives opportunity. And the former American president who says Africa is a, excuse me to say, oh, yeah. And then when you look around, then you realize that, oh, I mean, he's wrong. But the idea, and why are we in this as...
So do you agree with analysts who say that we must begin to define what democracy means for us as a people and how to make it, you know, within the African context, to look at what democracy is for us? Is that what I get?
What I'm saying is the past should definitely be different. This is a Western concept of democracy.
Yeah, so that means that we must define what democracy is for us.
But are we capable of doing that? That's the point. We're struggling with that.
We have very intelligent people. We have intellectuals. We have, yes, why not?
But the consensus thing, that's why...
But we need consensus.
No, consensus will not get us anywhere. You have a leadership that's determined that this is the path, I want to go there and take my people with you, yes. But of course, the people have to be inspired by that.
We can review our constitution to allow for to tweak the winner takes all. We can introduce proportional representation. There are many ways of being more inclusive. So we can do that. We have the men and women who have the ability, intellectual ability to do that. So yes, we must change our constitution to suit our context and conditions, which I believe requires consensus. But your question, very important. We need to recover Nkrumah's ideas. So we need to study him. We need to read him. We need to debate him. You don't have to agree with him. You don't have to agree at all. We will never agree on anything. But studying, examining, assessing his thoughts, we must. Because this is an exceptional leader by all accounts, you know, and someone who came in with a great Pan-African spirit and thoughts to liberate and unite. So we need to study him, because when we do that, then we will know what we can recover, what we can adapt, and what we can leave, you see?
Because liberate, unite, and socialist path. You see, you want to remove that one from Nkrumah's legacy. You can't.
Nobody. I love socialism, but but I cannot stay in my corner. I have to talk to capitalists. I have to talk to moderates. We have to talk to, because
and you talk to them and you end up in this situation. You're embracing their philosophy and their ideology, and
you're almost not moving anywhere.
Continue exploiting you.
Now the winner takes all removes consensus from the table. So we are not practicing consensus building. The winner takes all is not working for us. So this is one of the things that needs to change.
The multi-party system is not working for us either. The Western democracy is not working in Africa. So
what do you suggest, right?
Are you talking about the legacy of Nkrumah? No, I'm saying she said it right. Liberation, unity, but she deliberately missed the socialist path. Because today we are
no, we don't miss it. I love socialism.
For parliament,
so,
right?
So you're going back to parliament?
I hope so, by God's grace. I will try. 2024 as an independent candidate. Okay. And independent means for the whole of Ghana, for everybody.
You're leaving your party?
I am not really in the party, because I've seen that the smaller parties are not truly independent. So there is no need to maintain that facade. You know,
so the links of the smaller parties to the two main parties, so which feeds into the dual political structure.
You know better than me.
But you are the authority, so I can quote you as saying it.
But also, we need to go beyond that, because if we are saying we need to agree, have common ground, then we need to be a bit less dogmatic about party politics. Right. We need to be less partisan. So one way of doing that is to start thinking of some independent-minded people who can bring everyone together, not divide. We definitely need to be less partisan. But I want to go back to your very important question. You see, if you study Nkrumah, you will see things that need to be done today we haven't done. One of them is working with other African countries. Today we have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. That is really something he put forward in Addis Ababa 1963. If you read all the tenets, that's something that's Nkrumah's vision. Today we are sitting and discussing it and making countries ratify it. So this is the link. Nkrumah, the past and the future. Another thing is industrialization and manufacturing. Don't we all agree that we must go into manufacturing, add value? We are doing it. Another thing is education.
State or private?
Free education. It's state or private now doesn't matter. Even under Nkrumah, there was private entrepreneurs, and they were private because we had just come out of colonialism.
You see,
we had just come out of the.
We can't pretend to follow Nkrumah when we are following the West.
But do you think if Nkrumah was alive today, were he? No. It's a hypothetical. Yeah. Would he have moved on from the socialist path?
He would have redefined the socialist path for today. But he would never have been a non-socialist. He would have still been a socialist.
We've never had pure capitalism or pure socialism.
And that's why we are in a mess.
You see, what is
then you don't understand the legacy.
What is free SHS? That's a socialist-oriented policy. What is free healthcare? That's a socialist-oriented. So let us free our minds
but
and not
doing it properly. That's right.
We have never. Yeah, that's another debate. But we've never had pure this or pure that. Yeah. Can we move beyond even the isms and start thinking about what is good for our country?
Then that's why we're in this mess. That's my point. We've embraced Western philosophies, and then yet we are saying that Nkrumah was our greatest visionary. I think there's a conflict there.
All right, but we all conclude that Nkrumah must be celebrated, and we are happy about the mausoleum and the monument here. Look, guys, I could go on. You know, this is intellectually stimulating. I mean, when you hear two children of the Osajifo himself have a very, spirited conversation, and where they're firmly on their paths, you understand why it's important for us to have conversations like this as a people. But it's been an exciting moment for me here today at the Kwame Nkrumah Park and Mausoleum. I'm going to end it here and have some fun, but I will stay in touch with the two of you, obviously, because you, Samia, still want to go to Parliament. We must have conversations. But that'll be it here on the JoyNews channel. Continue the conversations, though. Continue the debates in your homes. Thanks for watching.